Okay, we welcome everyone to our annual Tradiciones event. My name is Chris Baker, publisher of the Taos News. It's great to see everyone at our annual event. The Taos News started this event 20 years ago. Over the past 2 decades, we have recognized 181 unsung heroes and 25 Citizens of the Year. Wow. I want to thank my staff, my incredible staff. Some of them are here tonight, so let's give them a big round of applause to the Taos News staff. I want to thank my newsroom, my production department, my advertising department, billing, circulation, social media, IT, the whole thing. I mean, we couldn't have done this with a wonderful staff. Raíces, Leyendas, and Artes came out last week, and then Citizen of the Year and Unsung Heroes will come out tomorrow. But I want to introduce Virginia Clark. Where's Virginia at? She's a little far away. So Virginia is our interim special sections editor, and we wouldn't have a Tradiciones section without her. She's worked tirelessly on this section, endless hours. Come on up, Virginia. And I want to thank her for everything she's done for this section. We have a little bit of appreciation, token of her appreciation. Thank you, Virginia. I appreciate it. Thank you. I want to thank our advertisers. We wouldn't have a Tradiciones section if it wasn't for our advertisers and their investment and their support, so thank them. And I especially want to thank Robin Martin, the owner of the Taos News. Not only would we not have a Tradiciones section, but we wouldn't have a paper to put out every week. So thank you, Robin. I hope you're out in internet land, but thank you, Robin Martin, the owner of the Taos News. Thank you so much. Okay, so tonight we're at the Taos Cooking Studios in Arroyo Seco. We're normally in front of 350 people at the El Monte Sagrado, so this is a big change for us tonight. It's a little bit smaller, a little bit intimate. We have just the Unsungs and a few of guests and a few of our employees, but I want to appreciate everyone for coming out. I want to thank Chris and Valerie Mahar. They've done a wonderful job putting on this wonderful spread, so thank you, Chris and Valerie, where we are at. Thank you. So for 20 years, Tony La Jolla has done these wonderful bears for us, these wonderful glass bears. Tony is from Isleta Pueblo. Again, he's not with us tonight, but he's done a great job with these glass bears that we'll give to the honorees. And Tony, he's on the cover of tomorrow's Tempo, so please be sure to look at Tony. But thank you, Tony. Hope you're out there watching this. I want to thank our committee who nominated our 9 Unsung Heroes and our Citizens of the Year. We couldn't have done it without our committee. I want to thank Elizabeth Critton Palacios. She's our moderator for the group, so thank you, Elizabeth. Marilyn Farrow from St. James Episcopal Church, who's part of our group. Kathleen Michaels. He's on the cover of tomorrow's Tempo. There we go. Kathleen Michaels from Taos Pueblo. Stella Mars McGinnis. Stella's been on our focus group for over 20 years, so thank you, Stella. Ernestine Cordova. She's a past Taos News Unsung Hero. My friend, Judge Ernie Ortega. He can't be here, but he's a Taos News employee, past Taos News, and an Unsung Hero. And Joseph Quintana from the Taos Fiesta Council. So let's give a big round of applause to our committee that nominated our 9 Unsung Heroes. So tonight we couldn't have made it possible without the support and backing of Taos Community Foundation. Lisa O'Brien, the executive director, I want to thank her for everything she's done, a wonderful support. They helped support this event last year. They're here again tonight, so thank you to Lisa. Thank you for everything you've done. Again, they've done a wonderful job. For the last 3 years, grants and scholarships for Taos Community Foundation have exceeded $1 million annually. They're currently holding charitable funds for 32 nonprofit organizations in Taos, which will assist with their long-term financial stability. They ended fiscal year 2019-2020 with over $2.3 million in revenue to existing charitable funds. I want to turn the mic over to Lisa, the executive director of the Taos Community Foundation, to present some awards on behalf of the foundation. She'll be presenting our Unsung a little bit different than we've done in the past. And then Stacy Matlock, our editor, will do our Citizen of the Year. So I'll turn it over to Lisa. Come on over, Lisa.
year, Taos Community Foundation partnered with Taos News to celebrate the amazing work of individuals in our community. Individuals who demonstrate the best in service, volunteerism, and selflessness. This partnership gave the foundation a platform to highlight the wonderful work that happens from the charitable realm that also includes the values of compassion, spirit, and at times, grit and tenacity. Tonight, I have the privilege of presenting 2 Peak of Excellence Awards on behalf of Taos Community Foundation. As we typically do in our work, we opened the gates to nominations in both categories for philanthropic and nonprofit excellence. We seated a committee of staff and board members who weighed in and reached a consensus decision. In honor of both our honorees, a grant award of $1,000 will be extended to their nonprofit of choice. I have taken the liberty to assume that the nonprofit of the year has elected to receive the grant directly. So if I need to make that check differently, Sandy, you'll need to let me know. Our first award is for philanthropic leadership. Shanti and Yale Jones have been longtime friends to the foundation and have partnered with us in their charitable giving for nearly 20 years. They exemplify the spirit of philanthropy in that it is not only about a charitable gift that is given. It includes genuine concern for their community. It includes lending a hand to individuals in need. It includes engaging in conversations in community to include many voices and to raise the question of how to get to a solution. It can be quiet and behind the scenes. It can be bold and unspoken. I have known Shanti and Yale for years and can attest that they exemplify the best in philanthropy. I consider them friends, and I am proud to honor them as our philanthropic leaders for 2020. Shanti and Yale could not be with us in person tonight, but I know they are watching with live feed. In acceptance, they have prepared a video message.
3. First, we want to say thank you to the Taos Community Foundation and to the Taos News for this honor. Our community wouldn't be the same without either of you, and we really appreciate how much you both add to our community. We're extremely fortunate to have the means to help our community. We've lived here since 2005, and we love it. We love being among the beauty that surrounds us, and we love being among the diverse and special people who call Taos home. We are happy to be able to help the many remarkable people who make this community special. We also want to say that philanthropy is not a question of how much one gives away. It's a question of attitude as well as action. The person who has little but gives of it generously and gives of his or her time, talents, as well as his or her treasure is a great philanthropist. We are happy to live among many such men and women. Again, we thank you very deeply.
So I'll ask everyone to raise your glass and clap very loudly for Shanti and Yale Jones, our leaders in philanthropy. The one ask that I have of those of you who are at these beautiful seated tables, because we typically do this, we all know at El Monte, and there's usually, 300, 400, 500 people there, that means you need to clap as loud as 500 people would. So I'll ask you to do that, please. So I'm going to introduce our next awardee. Youth Heartline is the child advocacy organization that serves some of our community's most vulnerable children. The mission of the organization is to provide family stability through trauma-informed services and systemic solutions. The work is complex, requires a holistic approach that includes collaboration across many sectors: behavioral health programs, our court systems, schools, and many community providers. All program services are free to families. This year, the COVID pandemic has created greater strains on families and organizations, and we all know that. As was shared in the nomination narrative, the amazing staff of Youth Heartline worked tirelessly and brilliantly to cover their clientele services safely and efficiently. As a result, there was no gap in the essential services provided to clients. On behalf of Taos Community Foundation, I am pleased to introduce Youth Heartline Executive Director Sandy Crowther for this year's Nonprofit Excellence Award.
Thank you so much, Lisa, and thank you to the Taos Community Foundation Award Committee and Taos News staff, and everyone for supporting Youth Heartline and our vision of healthy families and healthy kids. It is a tremendous honor to accept this award on behalf of the staff and board of Youth Heartline. And it would take days to thank every single person who contributes to our organization. But I must first thank our staff and board, and who are truly the most dynamic group of professionals I've ever had the pleasure of working with. They are the people who have made this award and these services a reality for those we serve and show up every day for the child. So thank you, Gerard Jones, Yasmin Huck, and Joanna McGee, Michelle Concha, Colleen Shaughnessy, Felice Medina, Kika Vargas, Erin Senna-Stevens, Valerie Alderetti, Sophia Ortiz, and Jolene Archuleta Duran. And of course, behind every nonprofit staff, we have a nonprofit board. And you know, we wouldn't be where we are without their support as well. And so thank you to Wiz Allred, Dan Veers, Patty Trainer, Chris Westover, April Winters, and Alice Morion. Community is absolutely at the heart of everything we do at Youth Heartline, and this is just exemplified by our exceptional core of CASA volunteers and our community volunteers. These people work tirelessly to ensure the well-being of children in our community, and the exceptional service of our contract therapists and facilitators, Sage Consulting, our funders, and all of the organizations we have the privilege of partnering with to provide critical services to children and families in our community. There is opportunity in every day to make a small change or impact in our community, and our kids are our future, so let's continue to make it brighter for them.
Congratulations, Sandy. So I'm going to move now into the Taos News portion of the Unsung Hero Awards. Peter and Gail Martinez, who knows them? Quickly raise your hands. Come on, we all know them. Peter and Gail are among those who have made community and compassion their avocation. As pastors and spiritual leaders of the non-denominational Living Word Ministries in Cuesta, this couple has devoted years to the wellness of its congregation and northern New Mexico at large. Peter, whose family ties are in Taos, are generations deep, officiates full-time in his role as pastor of Living Word. But many of us remember the other hats he has worn, the owner of both Taos Pro Speed Oil and Viva Sports. He was a physical education teacher at Taos Christian Academy and has coached varsity basketball in our public schools. Gail grew up on New York's Long Island and moved to Taos after college, where her father's family was. Once settled here, Gail established a well-regarded professional reputation with her work for the town of Taos, Taos Chamber of Commerce, and currently with Holy Cross Medical Center. Peter and Gail recently celebrated their 36th wedding anniversary, nicely done, and are proud parents and grandparents. Faith, they believe, is demonstrated by showing up for the ones you love and for the ones you don't yet know. Congratulations, Peter and Gail.
My name is Peter Martinez. This is my wife, Gail Martinez. and we co-pastor up here in Cuesta. The name of the church is Living Word Ministries, and we've been doing it for 14 years.
So my Taos career, if you will, has been always working with nonprofits. So whether it was town government, whether it was for the Chamber of Commerce, and now the Holy Cross Hospital. And so kind of that nonprofit background has always been a part of my life. And with that, we've always had God at the center of our life. And so when we were called up here to the north, we had already been involved in our church in leadership in many respects in Taos, and then so we came up here to Cuesta to begin to make this work.
A lot of people know me because of being in the business world. I had Pro Speed Lube and Oil for over 18 years. I had Viva Sports for over 23 years. But my real passion is always been sports. It's always been coaching. And I was also a basketball coach for 18 years in Taos. January 1st was I sold my business, Viva Sports, and I've kind of dedicated myself to full-time ministry. But there was a time that I had Pro Speed, Viva Sports, I was coaching and I was pastoring. And
raising teenagers.
And raising teenagers and being a good husband. But that's kind of the world I kind of, my life in general. But the real thing is when you really know that you're doing something that is worthy of the call and worthy of the purpose. And that's what I'm getting to really experience now in the fullness, is being able to be full-time as a minister, and it's a pretty awesome thing. Our church was really growing in the community where we were at up north. It's just about 4 or 5 miles north of here. And the church that we're in now basically had been without a pastor for almost 3.5 years. So the church had kind of dwindled down. And one of the individuals who was still active here in the church, at this church, approached us, and it was kind of a cute little thing that he said. He said, if Taco Bell and Kentucky Fried Chicken can come together, why can't two churches come together? So that's how it kind of got going. They needed a pastor, we needed a bigger building. Things unfolded, and we were able to let the good Lord do His work, and brought the churches together, which is awesome.
The rest is history, as they say.
Yeah. One of the things we like about Cuesta is, it is a smaller community, and it's had a lot of situations that have occurred by the mine closing that employed a lot of the people from here. But the beautiful thing about it is the hearts of the people are just a beautiful people. They're very family-oriented. They're very community-oriented as well, very loving, very giving. We find that we've kind of been embraced by the community, which is kind of cool and fun, and it's been quite a journey.
And one of the things I think that we've always appreciated is that they're very relational. And so, family, of course, is important, but they're very also like supportive, or it's like we can work together. Everyone recognizes each other's needs and try to be a part of that. So it's not like any one person certainly is not a number. Everyone, we know each other's names, first name basis, and it's just still that sense of still small town community. And of course, we need to mention we love getting, a dozen eggs on Sunday to baked bread, homemade bread. I mean, all those little things are still a part of here in Cuesta, New Mexico.
Yes. Sports helped me a lot through life. Pastoring is a lot like coaching, because you're always looking forward to what you have to accomplish and how to prepare to do that. And so my approach in preaching is really encouraging the people to bring out the best in them so they can be successful in whatever they face in life. Because our life, even right now, there's a lot going on, a lot of craziness. But you know what? If you have that anchor and that support, and you have that faith and that belief in yourself that all things are possible, and you lean on a higher source, which is our Lord, you can accomplish a lot.
Good evening, everyone. It's such a beautiful evening to be gathered together and to be surrounded by so many wonderful Taoseños, and among some of the best. And so we appreciate the opportunity. I want to thank you and extend that thanks, of course, to all who helped put this together and even being nominated. I think one of the things that that we've learned along the way is that both of us have had the opportunity to have some wonderful mentors. And we've learned that the importance to serving really is to serve from a place of strength. And our place of strength is our family, it's our friends, it's our support group. And we've both been fortunate to have some wonderful grandparents, as well as parents and support group like our children and our grandchildren around us as well. And so all those things make a difference, and we're just so appreciative of that.
You know, there's a saying in Spanish, they say, my mom always used to say it, dime con quién andas y te digo quién eres. You know, tell me who you're hanging with and I'll tell you who you are. You know, both me and Gail were very surprised to receive this honor, but it really shows us that the caliber of people that we've been able to walk with and help us and encourage us along the way. And that's one of the things I'm grateful for, is just some of the people that the Lord has put us around, and we get to walk together, serve together, and do things together. And he's given me quite a hero right here.
It's a good partnership. And we get to do it right here in Taos.
Thank you.
Definitely a night of gratitude. I couldn't say that any simpler. For nearly 30 years, Nikki McCarty has been either a teacher, a coach, or more recently, an athletic director. McCarthy began as a math teacher in Cuesta in 1992, where she began her coaching career in volleyball. She transitioned to Taos Middle School a few years later and remained with Taos Municipal School District up until this summer when she retired. Lucky you. As an educator and coach, Nikki was known for her stamina, leadership, and her high work ethic standards. During her tenure as athletic director, Taos High School brought home both individual and team state titles in several sports. Her leadership was also recognized as the Athletic Director of the Year in 2018 by the New Mexico Activities Association. In addition to her school activities, Nikki has coordinated community blood drives, toy drives, clothing drives, all of those things for local organizations, has participated in youth sports leagues, and volunteers for Taos Feeds Taos. As our superintendent, Dr. Lillian Torres, remarked, her kindness touched so many student lives over her tenure with Taos Municipal Schools, and all in such a positive way. Please join me in congratulating Nikki McCarty as an unsung hero this year.
And right now I'm retired, but for the past decade, I've been the athletic director of Taos High School. I started in Cuesta, right? My first 2 years were in Cuesta. I was hired to teach math and coach volleyball. I was first year teacher and head volleyball coach, and it was a little rough, didn't go as well as, you know, I learned from it, that's for sure. But I had a great group of girls, and I was there for 2 years, and then the opportunity came available for me to get a job in Taos, and so I did. When I first started as athletic director, there were several women athletic directors, but not that many. And so that was kind of a little challenge. You know, you had to, I remember there was one athletic director, he would not even talk to me on the phone. He just totally shut me down every time I tried to schedule a game with him. But then come to find out, he ended up being friends with one of my cousins in Santa Fe and knew my grandma and spent a lot of time at her house. And so then once he knew who I was, well then of course he was easier to work with. But if he hadn't have found that out about me, you know, it would have been a little bit more difficult. I was a math teacher that didn't believe that there was only one way to do it. And oftentimes my way wasn't always the best way. I often took the scenic route in showing them, and kids could, you know, they could go from point A to point Z and not much in between. In teaching math, you get those aha moments where, you work out a big old long problem. I always told the kids, those are those natural endorphins. It's like that runner's high in you, when you work these problems. You get to the end, you got the right answer, and it's that, I did it. And when you see them do that, that just makes it all worth it. I also taught leadership, and I'd have kids come in, as freshmen, usually boys, but sometimes girls, where they come in and they're so quiet. And then you see them grow over the years, and by the time they're seniors, they've just blossomed into such amazing leaders. And, then they go off and they become doctors and lawyers and, journalists. And so I think working with kids in that leadership realm, in the student council realm, watching kids just really blossom into that leadership role, I mean, that has been fantastic. I'm so passionate about athletics and activities and the arts because students that participate in something do much better in school than the students that don't. They have to have that feeling that they belong. So if they can see that passion in me, and that and they know that I care about them, that's what I like to leave. I like to let people know that I am vested in it 100%, that I will give everything I have to see our school, our students, our coaches, our community succeed and be represented well. So when I meet a stranger, I want to leave them with the thought in their heads that, hey, I want to go to Taos. I want to go to Taos High School. I want to participate in their clubs and their athletics and in their classrooms. And so I just want people to know that Taos High School is a really great place, and there's so much to offer here. And they're caring and wonderful people, and I want to leave people with that impression, that they know us and they feel comfortable with us, and we are leaders in Taos. I just want people to remember that my door was always open. I never closed Malthus' door, hardly at all, because I wanted people to feel comfortable in coming in. They were the reason why I was there.
Wow, thank you so much for this amazing honor. I'm just beside myself that I am able to stand here in front of all of these amazing people and be considered one of them. Thank you so much to the Taos News and all their staff and everyone that made this event happen. When I taught leadership, one of the things I tell my students is, in order to be successful, you have to surround yourself with good people. And that's what I did. I had the best staff ever as an athletic director. I never had to worry about things getting done. They were done. And I had just amazing people that I worked with. The coaches were great. Those state titles that we won, that was amazing, because I never won a state title as an athlete, and I never won a state title as a coach. And my first state title was with girls track. That was their first one of 3. And the boys track had 5 in a row, and cheer had 5 in a row, and cross country had, oh gosh, I can't even remember, close to 5 each, boys and girls. And then, of course, you all know about the football state title. So I had an amazing group of coaches that I was fortunate to work with. And I had an amazing support staff that kept things running for me, and amazing secretaries along the way, and principals and administrators, and a great school that I worked with, and great kids. Ultimately, that's what made it all happen, was the kids. The leadership kids, the student council kids, the athletes. And people ask me now, well, what do you miss? Are you missing it in retirement? Not yet, but what I do miss I do miss the kids. I miss the athletes. I miss standing on the sidelines watching them. And that's what I miss. But, you know, my passion has always been for kids, for athletics, for activities. And I'll be back in some capacity or another. I never want to get away from working with our youth because our youth is so important. And before I go, I have to say thank you to my husband, gosh, and my family. The hours I was gone from day one. We married in June, and come August, I was coaching volleyball and teaching in Cuesta, and I don't think he saw me hardly at all for the first few months of our marriage, and it didn't get any better along the way. I think now, since June, he's seen me more in the past few months than he had in 28 years of marriage. So he's really a great guy to put up with all that. A lot of spouses would not, and my kids have been a great support as well. So, gosh, I could go on all night. You know, I love to talk, but we have a whole lot of more amazing people to get up here. So again, just thank you everyone for this amazing and wonderful great award.
Congratulations, Nikki. And I'm just going to say, as one female leader to another, soak it in, my friend, because you brought this to your work. For years, people from Taos Pueblo and visitors to this historic village have enjoyed the aroma of freshly baked bread as they walk to the Pueblo's Central Plaza. Often the smell comes from a home on the corner of the main road across from the Taos Pueblo government offices on Veterans Highway. There, you can find Mary Romero, who spends hours heating up a traditional adobe horno with cedar to bake perfectly rounded loaves. Some she sells as Mary's baked goods. Many others she gives away when someone, especially a child, needs one. In describing her sharing, Mary stated, "Some people can't even afford bread. By my way of thinking, it's only flour. We can always buy more. It's only flour." Mary was raised at Taos Pueblo, where she and her partner, Rodney Concha, continued to reside. When their children, Megan and John Paul, were little, Mary served on the board of the Taos Day School Board for many years. What can be described as a simple, open-hearted life, Mary's commitment to her family and the Pueblo runs deep. For the many small acts of generosity and devotion over the years, Mary exemplifies the definition of an unsung hero. Please join me in recognizing Mary Romero.
One sister, I have my husband Rodney, my two children Megan and John Paul. I was raised also on the other side of the Pueblo, on the south side, and I grew up there with my grandma till I was about 10. That's when my mom met my stepdad and we moved into town. It's the first time I actually saw a TV. Believe it or not, my kids don't believe it. I used to work in a gift shop for many a years, right on the plaza, right under which is now the Gorge Bar and Grill. And she retired. Then she closed up business, and then I started baking. The worst part was when I first started baking, I didn't get it right the first 2-3 times. My dough was like shiny rocks. But after, figuring out where I was messing up, then I was able to really do what I do. I do a lot for the community as far as if they needed someone to do baking for them or traditional baking or anything like that. I offer my assistance, or I'll go help whatever I have to do. But the bread baking part, it changed my life in a way of, it got me to know my community a lot more. I try to give my heart in a way of where I say a prayer every morning before I do my bread. I ask for everyone to have a good day, and I ask for everyone to be able to have something to eat today. Yesterday I had a group of kids that they're riding their bikes, and I just said, what are you guys up to? And they always come to say hi to me. So I said, what are you guys up to? And they're like, oh, we're just bored riding our bikes. And I gave them a loaf of bread and some pies and cookies, and you know, there's little swimming holes along our river. So I told them, well, you guys be careful, go have a snack, but you be careful, and you know, you guys go straight home, you know. But that's the kind of offering I have to offer, you know, just to try to get them to be good to each other, and to help to know that there's some place that they can go no matter what. I have a pretty decent life. I live a pretty decent life. We don't do a whole lot out there. We've just been keeping to ourselves. COVID, and then also my husband not well. We can't really take our dad anywhere because of that. He did celebrate a birthday this past Saturday. His brother drummed him a couple powwow songs. We held it in our village house. It was so heartfelt. I know he had a really good day that day, and those are the things that I look forward to, are his good days, the days that make him feel really good. It's only the four of us, so we're really a tight-knit family. It's been a tough haul. It's been a tough 2 years for him, and my main goal and my hope is that he can get better. He gets a kidney and he can get better. He has a long life ahead of him. And I have to say, my kids are my biggest heroes, because I don't know what I would do without them right now in this time. Hi, my name is Mary Romero, and I am honored to have been chosen to be an unsung hero. My family is honored and proud, as well as my community, whom I love dearly. I love both, all the diverse sections of Taos. We have so many different cultures here, and I just want to say thank you for the great support I've received from everyone here in Taos. I would like to thank my family, my husband Rodney, my mother Manuelita, my children Megan and John. Today, I would not be the person without these people in my life I am today. I would also like to thank Mary Esther Winters and Kathleen Michaels for thinking of me as an unsung hero. I appreciate the consideration and thoughtfulness. Thank you so much for that. I would also like to say it is an honor to be amongst these heroes. Heroes such as Mr. and Mrs. Benny Romero. They were both dedicated educators at TDS, Taos Day School. I appreciate this honor very much. And I would like to extend my heartfelt thanks and appreciation to all healthcare workers, EMTs, firefighters, anyone who has to put your life on the line to go work for the public. Please just stay safe for the better of yourself and your family. And to my extended families, the Romeros and the Conchas, whom I have unconditional love and support from my families. And I also want to give a very big shout out to two very special people in my life, Micah and Jade Martinez, and their parents, Tammy and Leon, and Anastasia and Isabella. And I really just would like to say thank you again to my community, both the tribal members and the local town facility, town people. I'm so grateful for this honor. I don't know what else to say except for I am very honored and I appreciate all this. It is a great thing. Thank you to the Taos News and all the other unsung heroes that we sit among each other, and we have a lot to be proud of. We run a very nice community. Taos is the best place to raise a family. I believe in my heart. There are so many great qualities in Taos, and it's just the best place to have a family. I've learned to love my community, and they've come to love me very well too. I appreciate all this, and thank you so much, and thank you for allowing me to be among these unsung heroes as well. Thank you again. Thank you.
So Mary said it beautifully. Great place to live, great place to raise our children, so the evening is over. We can all go home now. I do want to say, I can't, just again, the heartfelt place of what nourishment means. And that nourishment comes in many, many ways. That nourishment comes in prayer, and nourishment comes in bread, and nourishment comes in sharing, which is what we're doing tonight. Thank you, Mary, for that reminder. David Mapes opened his fine art gallery in November of 2011. The space served as both a showroom for his New Mexico furniture company and also served as an art gallery. He was instrumental in revitalizing the Taos Gallery Association while strengthening the community between artists themselves. David came to Taos at the age of 11 with his father and siblings Larry and Maria. His father opened the well-known toy store Tio Vivo, which many of us know. While attending college, David knew that he wanted to start a business that combined art and science, his favorite subjects. After several seemingly unconnected jobs, and wait till you hear this unconnected job list, working for a community mental health center, and also as a pyrotechnic professional. I have no idea what that means other than professional fireworks, and it sounds dangerous and fun all at the same time. David launched into furniture making after inheriting his grandfather's woodworking tools. David was instrumental in establishing a marketing committee that was ratified by the Town of Taos Council under the leadership of former Mayor Fred Peralta. The committee has been successful in leading the town into new marketing directions, relying on input from the greater community. As David reports it simply, Taos has always been about the arts. Please join me in recognizing unsung hero David Mapes.
Ever, it seems like, and I. My name is David Mapes, David Anthony Mapes, and that confuses people. When I've been here forever, it seems like, and I named the gallery David Anthony Fine Art just because I thought it had a nicer ring to it. But then people that I've known forever start introducing me around as David Anthony, even though that's my middle name, not my last. But it probably should have just been Furniture by David Mapes. My mother would have been the most happy about that. I noticed when I'd be working with customers, designing a piece of custom furniture, say, that it was always natural to me, but I became aware that it was a gift because not everyone can put things together in their mind. I mean, I'll sometimes go to bed at night knowing I'm going to start a project in the workshop and wake up and I'll have built it in my sleep. And I already know what I'm doing. And it's just the weirdest thing. You know, I was born with a pretty active brain. I would never sleep when I was a kid. My mom was always exhausted. And so finally, my grandfather, who was an MD, gave me a little dose of phenobarbital so I would sleep so my mom could get some rest, because I'd want to do everything. And so I still want to do everything. But as soon as I got my driver's license, I went to a fireworks company that my brother actually was in Long Beach at a fireworks thing and got this guy's card that turned out to be one of the premier pyrotechnic designers in the country. He'd do the Super Bowls, the Statue of Liberty celebration, and all these things. And and he was doing the Hollywood Bowl. And so that's where I started getting my career. We were doing concerts, Rolling Stones and The Who, and that was really exciting. And then big company conventions. So they'd fly us around the country to do these shows. And so that was really fun. But I left all that because I wanted to be in Taos. It was much more conducive to being creative. And by then my father had moved here, opened a toy store. And because my parents divorced and I mostly lived with my mother, I thought, oh, it'd be nice to spend some time with my dad. And I'd come to Taos, and I remember, you know, I hadn't driven in snow much living in Los Angeles, and one of the first things I do is slide off the road into a ditch. And the first guy behind me pulls right up and ties a rope on his car and yanks me out of the ditch. And I was like, this is a nice place. People are really, it's more familial, and I felt like people didn't make an assumption on you based on how you looked. It was how you acted. You know, I opened up an art gallery, and I was wondering about how they were marketing the art scene. So then I was reading in the newspaper, and the PR firm at the time was having such a hard time getting input from people like the galleries and businesses. And it was describing all the different marketing groups. And they talked about a Tuesday morning meeting for marketing. And I thought, oh, I'm going to go to that and see what that's about. Anyway, because the PR firm was having so much of a hard time getting people to get creative about like making events. If you have an event, like let's say 5 galleries get together and they do a collaborative event. Now the town sees that as something different, and they're going to go, this is cool, it'll get people here, and it's not playing favorites to one business, because you can imagine how haywire that would get. This administration, I've gotten to know them and work with them, and it's like so excited to be really part of a real democracy that functions like it should with checks and balances. And I don't know what I'd want to be remembered for. There's a whole lot of things I know I don't want to be remembered for. And I guess, at one point someone reminded me that I'm already was successful, even though I always equated that with economic freedom. But on the other hand, my grandfather was a craftsman, and I inherited his tools, and he was always about really doing things right and nicely. And so, and I've been building furniture for a long time, so I've gotten quite good at it. And so, but there's a side of me that wants to move on and do something different. I still like creating things. And so anything that I can solve a problem, figure it out in my head and turn it into reality with my hands is a joy. It gives me an adrenaline rush, and I'm an adrenaline junkie. What can I say?
Wow, this is quite the honor. I want to thank the Taos News and the selection committee for this acknowledgement, but also more than just me, I don't know how many newspapers in the country, large or small, devote so many resources to acknowledging the citizens they serve with an event as this meaningful and momentous year in and year out for the last 20 years. I want to acknowledge the publisher, Chris Baker, for making this idea happen for as long as you have, and all the staff that come out like an army to make this happen every year. I mean, I see everyone from the Taos News at El Monte Sagrado, making them schlep trash cans or whatever. And, so anyway, it's an unusual, classy, and event that is one of the highlights of the year in Taos, for Taos. I want to acknowledge the Gallery Association. They took out an ad last week congratulating me on this award and appreciating my optimism and support. That was really cool, thank you. That was really a nice thing to do. And I also want to thank the town of Taos for being a town for its citizens No government is perfect by any means, but to have the same opportunities as every other citizen in Taos to be heard and to have the opportunity to initiate change gives me great faith in democracy, that it can still work. It has been an honor to work with so many fellow citizens, and this would be in the hundreds, to achieve great things that ultimately gain the support of the town of Taos. This town is full of amazing people. So in that vein, I share this award with all of Taos, for this is a community rich with activism, and in a very literal sense, it takes a village. And I'm so proud to be among so many who care so much about their town, Taos. Finally, I'm grateful for the support from my family, especially my mother, Eva McCraven, for the permission to follow my dreams and my inspirations, even when they include volunteering my time, which is probably my most valuable asset. And I'm just, grateful for being in Taos. I mean, it's a wonderful place to be. It's very special, unique in the world, and it's great to be among all of you tonight. I never expected to be part of you guys, but here I am. And anyway, thank you. Do I have to keep talking, I guess? So does anyone like to come up and say a few things? I timed this at 2 minutes, I guess we're going long. But, I remember last year, it was fun. One of my friends got nominated, and he is petrified as well, coming up and speaking. But I guess, eventually we hopefully get kind of over it. I always thought I would have no problems public speaking, because oftentimes it's in front of the city council, and I'm just so focused on what I want to get out. But then I'll find myself, once I'm there, literally shaking in my voice and thinking that that's how it's going to read. But usually reads better than what I thought. But, I sure appreciate my dad. He came here, his best high school friend was Kevin Jenkins, who was married to Nancy Jenkins, who we all know was Taos School. She was a well-beloved teacher for many, many years. And so it was kind of like a broken wheel story that brought Ken here, and then my dad discovered it and opened a toy store, and then I came, and so it's kept me busy. It's a great place to be creative, that's for sure, and build things. And I plan on being here for at least another 20 years. I think I'll live that long, but I'm not going anywhere. And there's so much to do in this town, and it's so amazing that there's so many people that come together to make it better for all of us everywhere. It's a sense of citizenship that is really super important, I think, is, to be part of a caring world and not a selfish world, and we all work together to make everything better. Boy, this sure seems like it's a lot longer than 2 minutes. So anyway, I don't know what else to say. Some of my friends in California might be watching this, and if they are, thank you so much. I know my mother is, and my sister are, and sister and husband are. And so they'll be, going from this to watching the debates. It'll be pretty interesting, from something really nice and warm and fuzzy to something horrible that we just don't want to get into. But it's one thing Taos does have too. We can disagree about things, but we still work as a family. We get along. It's like it always there should be. I mean, the rest of the country seems so polarized, but this is such a haven of love and warmth, and that's just what you can expect being in Taos. We pick each other at face value. We're multicultural in so many ways, and when I came here, I was a minority, but I never felt like I was didn't expect the same graces everyone does, and that's how I've been treated. And so we should set a good example for the rest of the country, although we don't want them all here necessarily. But they do come, and they come in droves, and they enjoy our town, and we're gracious to them, and they get to always bring something home, if it's a piece of art or a piece of sage or a piece of incense that smells like Taos. there's millions of people around that know about us and love us and are probably pretty jealous of us. And so we need to always remember that we're here as a family. We want to preserve things that are special in our valley, our cultures, our water, our air, our, everything, our way of life. And so that's something that, we'll all continue to strive for. I'm sure, there's no doubt. And there's tons of areas right now where, we're putting up with a major road work in the town, and it's not as much of a mess as I thought it might be, but it's going to be really nice when they finally get it done. And it'll be, navigating around downtown should be easier. We have, town staff that I interact with. They really, they really care, and they want to make Taos a better place. We just can't ever lose sight of what we have here, and how we, are with each other. It makes my quality of life so much better just to wake up knowing, it's just comforting, seeing the mountains, seeing the valley. It's like, I feel safe, I feel cared for, and I don't feel judged. I'm probably my worst judge of all of myself, which is something we typically do. But it's just, I can't tell you how grateful I am, and appreciate the acknowledgement. And I want to make sure that I'm accepting this for everyone in Taos, because we're all working to make it a better place. Thank you.
Thank you, David, for the reminder of what giving voice is in advocacy, in government, and in our town, and what that means for all of us. And thank you for holding that space and for stepping up to the podium in those kinds of meetings. Our next awardee, Florence Miera, is a licensed clinical social worker in Taos and an adjunct professor at UNM Taos, a social worker and a homeless liaison for Taos Municipal Schools, and a clinical therapist for special education youth. Florence assists with behavioral health programs through the county. In her role with Taos Schools, she is on campus at every school in town once per week, and that's happening now. As a result of this, she is able to keep a pulse on what is going on with our kids and their families. Her school position work assists families with clothing needs, food needs, sleeping supplies, as well as assisting students with support services as part of their educational needs. The line between Florence's employment and community work is often blurry, as she is known to connect with some of our community's most vulnerable families on her own time, in the evenings, and on the weekends. The path of serving others was shaped from the grief and loss experienced from several family tragedies that Florence is open about sharing. Understanding hardship and loss has fueled her passion for serving others. A mom to 2 adult daughters and a grandmother to 3, education was a valued pathway that Florence has instilled in her family. I have to put in one little personal comment that Florence and I attended New Mexico Highlands together, and we got our graduate degrees in social work. So I just have to say, I'm so proud to have you as my colleague. Please join me in recognizing Florence Miera as a 2020 Unsung Hero.
So I'm Florence Miera, and I'm a social worker for Taos Schools, and I also work with the homeless population. So when I first started, I think there were identified maybe up to like 30 homeless students, and as I started just talking a little bit more and identifying who the homeless kids were, what I discovered is that many of the students in Taos that are considered homeless are doubled up. So what that means is that they live with their grandparents, maybe an uncle or an aunt. Maybe they're living like in the backyard in a tent. But the more I looked, the more we're seeing. I work with pre-K all the way to high school, and when I see the high school kids, I'm just impressed by them, knowing that sometimes they didn't have a place to sleep. They have taught me a lot in that education is super important, and that's what I try to teach them. Like, you can be anything you want to be. You can overcome this. You know, I have family too. Within the last 3 years, when I first started this program, I thought I didn't know anyone, but the more I know the definition of homelessness, the more I realize there are a lot of people in this community who basically live doubled up with a family member because of the price of housing, rent. You know, I have family members right now who can't afford their own place. So what I have seen as far as Taos, I think there's a misconception that a lot of the people that are homeless are drifters, come in from other places, but that's not what I see. I have met amazing organizations, Dream Tree, who houses our teenagers, Heart of Taos, who takes in family, CAV. You know, there's a lot of organizations here, so I can't say that no one is really helping. However, it's just getting worse and worse, and now there's waiting lists. So I do think that we need to recognize what's going on here and really support these families. So I ended up losing my home and had to start all over. I hit rock bottom, and I mean, as you see, this home right now is beautiful, and I have worked really, really hard, but I've had to work up to 5 jobs at a time to make ends meet. And I did tell you, like, my daughter moved back from Albuquerque, and then, you know, there's all these different situations, and as you've seen on my little compound here, that there's a few little shacks. And so I do have a bed in each of them because I have family members that sometimes don't have a place to sleep. So I've opened up my property and my little place for that, knowing that there's such a need because of COVID. I definitely get anywhere from 2 to 5 students more a week. So now I'm dealing with a lot more mental health issues, domestic violence, evictions, people who are sick and possibly have COVID, who have been displaced. And the hardest piece about that is, number one, they were already hard to connect to, because where are they? How do you find them? Like I said, I would say 80% are doubled up. One of the good parts of what has happened with COVID and the Taos School District is that every student has a computer, every student has hotspot. So we're able to get online and connect, but the numbers are going up. So it is a problem. And one of the things that I have learned being in the schools, because now it's like 14 years, and every student I meet, I'm like, they're the unsung heroes. Like, really, those kids are amazing. That they could come to school despite what has happened that night in their home. Sometimes they can't focus, but they show up. And they're the ones that are there every week. And if we could all just take a look at that, I was one of those students. I lost my dad very young. My mom ended up getting stage 4 cancer when I was a teenager, and I felt displaced a lot. I felt like people do not understand me. They don't understand my family, and I think that still happens. So I think the biggest message is stop and hear people's stories, and we're all different, and that's what makes the world go round.
Hello, good evening, everyone. I'm super excited to be here tonight. I don't know if anyone has shown this, but look at this. It's beautiful. It's amazing. Just like my community. I'm just overwhelmed. My heart is happy just to be a recipient of Unsung Hero with all of you here tonight. It makes me, I can't even explain it. I can't put it in words, but I'm grateful. Thank you. For those of you who don't know me, I have 2 daughters and 3 grandchildren who are the loves of my life. I have an extended family, brothers and sisters, nieces and nephews, who mean the world to me. And like I said, we've been through a lot too. And to be considered an unsung hero, I know they're watching, I know they're proud, but they make me proud. Every day when they can get up and leave the house and be the people they are today, with or without a home, they're still fighting. So what I want you guys to do is just take a moment and close your eyes, think of your home. How many of you feel safe at home? How many of you have food at home? How many of you have someone to love you, to care for you, to wash your clothes? Well, my students don't have that. Many of them don't have a home. Many of them don't know where they're getting their next meal. Do they have clean clothes for tomorrow? What I want us all to know right now is that we have a community that really needs, and all it takes is one person. When I was young and I lost my dad, my Aunt Carmel, who's here with me today, was 12, 13 years old, and she came to help take care of us. There were 5 kids. That's all it takes, one person to say, I'm going to step it up. I'm going to be part of these lives. I want you to just think about that. Think about how you can be present for one student. Be that voice. Thank you all so much. This is exciting.
That requires a pause. I have to just say thank you, Florence, for putting voice so eloquently to the needs of many of our students in our community. And thank you for reminding us that it doesn't take much. I'm having a moment, you know, in social work school, they tell you, make sure you hold your boundaries and don't bring your personal stuff and don't show emotion. And I watch my friend and colleague, Florence, who just blows that out of the water. And I want to say, well done. That's what it takes. And thank you for the work that you do. Those ones are hard to sort of follow. You get a little rattled. So I'm just going to take a moment and say, it's sort of like the 7th inning stretch. I'm not a baseball person, but don't they do that like 7th, inning or something? They play really fun music and they say, wave your hands and kind of, do something. I just have to say that for those of you who are watching from home, and thank you for those of you that kind of commented that we have family members, I'm sure my mother is watching from Michigan and has called all of her bridge group and all of those things. If I can just take 1 minute and tell you what is happening, every time we shift to a video, there is like this explosion flurry of activity. So there's food coming out and dessert coming out and beverages coming out, and then the razor sharp folks, which I have to say you guys are absolutely phenomenal, because there's just this constant sort of like, okay, move the microphone, scoot over here, no, scoot over there, smile, look at the camera. And I had this image as I was standing in the wings over here. I don't know, was it the movie or the show Laugh-In, where they used to come out with like the big powder puff like thing? And I thought, God, I hope my makeup is okay, and I probably need to put on new lipstick. But anyway, that's the 7th inning stretch moment. So I'm going to move on. And trying to get through this because I now can't see. Growing up in ranchos in the 1950s and 1960s, David Maez remembers riding with his sister in the back of his parents' Studebaker on the way to Taos Plaza and passing neighbors along the way who still drove horse-drawn wagons. His family has strong connections to the land, specifically a family orchard that this year marks the 100th anniversary since the first tree was planted by David's grandfather. David attended school in Taos and went on to receive a degree from the University of New Mexico in sociology that began a career in, guess what, social work. At the age of 25, David completed officer training with the U.S. Coast Guard, and that resulted in serving 12 years as a commissioned officer where he was stationed in Guam and Puerto Rico. David returned to Taos and carved out a 10-year career as a juvenile probation officer. Upon returning to active duty in 1998, David was instrumental in promoting the first maritime law enforcement agreement between Mexico and the United States, which was signed in the fall of 2007. Since retirement, David has embraced his role in community service and as a local historian. He has been active in the Ranchos Neighborhood Association and as a member or in leadership with Taos Historic Museum and Taos County Historical Society. Of all his projects, the Torres Orchard remains one of the cherished places for David. We keep the orchard going on in remembrance of the hard work my grandfather invested, and oh boy, what good apples. Please welcome David Maez up to the podium.
All right, well, my name is David Maez. I was born and raised here in Taos, and I'm one of the descendants of the original Spanish settlers here in Taos. I don't think my life is so different from many of the young people that are from Taos and grow up here in Taos, in that you grow up here, you learn to love your community. But in my case, I didn't leave here because I was bored. I was very happy living here. In fact, it was just my idyllic community back in the 70s when I left. But I wanted to see the world. I wanted to travel, and by travel I don't mean just geographic travel, but I wanted to see other peoples and other places. You know, you hear so much about this big, beautiful world we live in, and I figured that was a good way to do it, was to have the military, specifically the Coast Guard, pay for my travel. I was, for many years, I think it was 9 or 10 years, I was president of the Ranchos Neighborhood Association. And one of the things that we accomplished over, believe it or not, about 10 years was coming up with a neighborhood plan. And a neighborhood plan has to do with zoning. And zoning means that you decide many critical aspects about the community you want to live in. For example, what's the density of housing that you would like? How many houses per lot? And another aspect was, what kind of commercial buildings do you want to have in the area? And just because a building is named Dollar Store doesn't mean that it's going to be automatically exempted or precluded from starting up business here. But there was such a strong feeling in the community about wanting to retain just the nature of our historic little community and not having big commercialized businesses come into Ranchos. There aren't any here in Ranchos. It might be the only neighborhood in America that doesn't have a commercialized business in it. We don't have a McDonald's. We don't have a Starbucks. And people like that about Ranchos because it is very authentic. You know, people just didn't want to have the Ranchos community commercialized. And I'm sure you know that other communities in Taos have gone through the same thing, and they've also been successful in restricting big name commercial enterprises from coming into Taos. Well, I am the mayordomo of a little venita, which is a venita is just a little branch of a main acequia. And so there is a venita that runs from the Ranchos Morada all the way to State Road 68. And we have probably 10 or 12 parciantes on it. that still irrigate. What's interesting about acequias and other traditions here in Ranchos is that I show up at the acequia meeting every Saturday morning, and I'm one of the youngest people there, and I'm 72 years old. And you just wonder what the acequia meetings are going to be like in another 10 years. This year, as we have done for the last couple hundred years, we plastered the Ranchos Church. And again, most of the people that were there were a little group of about 20 parishioners that showed up to plaster the church. And we were all about my age. In fact, I don't think there was anybody there that was under 50. I think two events that come to mind when you think about what legacy you want to leave are my parents. My mother specifically, when she died, she says, I want David to give my eulogy. And I also gave the eulogy for my dad. And when you have to come up with a little talk that reflects on somebody's life, you realize what the important things are. And I think the important things in anybody's life are family, both immediate family, extended family, and also the family of community. And the type of legacy, the type of feelings that family has given you and what you have given them. And ultimately it comes down to valuing others and serving others, being at peace with what you've done in the service of others. I think that's what's important. And I think that's all people really remember once you pass on, are your good works. I don't think they even remember any of the bad stuff you've done. But if you've done something good, even little acts of kindness are what people remember about coming in contact with me.
Good evening. Many thanks to the Taos News for sponsoring this annual salute to community servants. These are people who make the Taos area, the Taos Valley, the absolutely best place to live. I am honored and humbled to be in the company of all these unsung heroes tonight. Through their giving spirit and selfless efforts, they have touched the lives of countless people in our community, offering helping hands, lifting spirits, and encouraging others to dream. As a community service worker, I know of the sacrifices involved, so I salute all of you for your efforts, generosity, for caring, and for loving our community. Besides the gift of giving, fellowship formed among volunteers is perhaps the greatest reward. It is the driving force of a successful community service organization. I owe many great debts of gratitude to the many volunteers who have worked with me on our many campaigns to bring positive change to our community. I received the honor of an Unsung Hero Award on behalf of all my fellow volunteers. Together we work and together we succeed. I am most grateful to three persons who have guided and supported me throughout. My parents, Abigail and Lourdes, formed my values and my character. My wife, Margarita, my life partner, has been with me through mostly good times. Always encouraging, always supportive. Thank you very much, dear. Thank you, Margarita. On a final note, I encourage my fellow Taoseños to become involved in community service organizations. Help improve our community. Anne Frank had a saying, how wonderful it is that no one need to wait a single moment before starting to improve the world. And I will close with another quote, this one from Winston Churchill. He said, the positive thinker sees the invisible, feels the intangible, and achieves the impossible. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, David, and congratulations. I'm struck by the common thread that we hear from our unsung heroes tonight, that in their acceptance, there's also the ask to do a little bit more. So I'm humbled by that. With every single one of you has shared something about just a little bit more that we can each do. And I want to recognize that. When Kathleen Garcia was growing up, Taos to her was a small place of community tradition and celebration. A place where neighbors gather and friends, and with those friends, become family. It has been her work to maintain all of what used to be, what is, and what will be Taos in the future. Kathleen grew up in the Ranchos area and was involved in many of the traditional happenings of the Taos community. Her most memorable contribution was her time on the Fiesta Court as a teenager. Her connectivity to the Taos Fiesta Council has continued as an adult, where Kathleen has served in several leadership roles with the 100-year traditional celebration. Community involvement has also included participation in the San Francisco Church and choir and numerous volunteer efforts. Kathleen oversees purchases for all state correctional facilities in her position as the Chief Procurement Officer for the New Mexico Department of Corrections. Kathleen experienced health issues this year, forcing her to slow down and take the needed time for recovery. Despite her illness, she still found ways to give back. A true unsung hero. Congratulations, Kathleen Garcia.
Garcia, and I was raised in Taos, New Mexico. Lived here my whole entire life, and this is my home. It's a really small community. Of course, it's grown. It was wonderful growing up in Taos. In high school, I took lessons in music, so I was involved in the choir back then as well. My parents raised us to know the importance of our Catholic faith and to make it a priority. I've been the choir director for the women's choir, and it's been a wonderful journey. And I play the guitar, and I just love being part of the Mass. And just my gift of song is a direct gift from God, and when I do it in His house to worship Him, that's what He wants. The Taos Feeds Taos and the Taos Fiesta Council as well. I've served on the Taos Fiesta Council since 2005. That's been interesting and a lot of fun too. Just keeping that tradition alive, because it's the oldest celebrated tradition here in Taos County, and so it's gone hundreds and hundreds of years back. And so being part of keeping that culture alive has been really important for me, and it brought a lot of joy. I've met a lot of wonderful people doing that in the northern part of the state, Espanola, Las Vegas, Santa Fe, to also include San Luis, because we've celebrated fiestas over there as well. So that's been a lot of fun, especially in Espanola, Santa Fe, and Las Vegas. So we participate in their fiestas as well, and so we take our court to represent Taos County out there and celebrate their fiestas with them as well. It's just bringing our culture to them as well, and celebrating what they find dear to them. Right now, I am serving as the treasurer but I've served as president, past vice president, secretary as well. So I've served in different capacities, but it takes us all to be able to make it happen. While Fiestas takes the 3 days, which is really 4, it's setting up on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We work all year long to make it happen, but also participate in the other fiestas as well, which happen throughout the year as well. So it's a year commitment to get it done. I've always felt that volunteering and being part of the solution is so vital to one's growth. There's a satisfaction that you get when you're giving of yourself and seeing the fruits of that labor. Being part of that is so rewarding. Being in church, being a part or contributing to someone's spiritual growth is so rewarding. It's not what you get tangibly back, is you can't count that. It's how you feel inside when you've participated in something so bigger than yourself, and being part of that solution rather than waiting for others to do it, and just feeling that you contributed to that process and that you helped something grow along the way. Sometimes working in organizations like that, not everyone will agree, and so you have to be of open mind and heart to really listen, and sometimes just letting go and letting the process happen. And you know, I've just always believed that whatever happens or the outcome is what God wants to happen, and so it's just being of open heart and mind. Our life is a gift from God. What we do with our life is our gift back to Him. So we gotta make it count. That's pretty much it. Thank you. It's been a little overwhelming for me. It was shocking to me, but I thank you. I want to thank Taos News and Chris Baker for all that you do to put this on. There are so many people more worthy of this honor. Thank you for thinking of me, and thank you for making this part of my life as well. One of the things that I do want to say is, through my example, if my daughters succeed, then I've done my job as a mother. As women, we have to be there, and we have to be the voice for our children to grow up and be successful. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathleen, for being an amazing example of a strong woman, a strong leader, a beautiful mother, and thank you for reminding us all of that importance. Okay, I need some help here. Or I could sit. Hi. We just had the funniest little moment. I was here rattling on and on and on, and they told me we weren't live. So I now have to recap what I thought I just said. What I was going to say is this is the last award that I'm presenting tonight, and then I will hand over the microphone and the podium and the mask and the hand sanitizer and all of those things to my good friend Stacy Matlock, who is the editor at the paper. So I'm going to present this one. If you have been in the Tulpa Community Center, then you probably know Luzita Trujillo as a part-time librarian. You may also know her as the volunteer art and ceramics teacher or the summer reading program coordinator. If you hear traditional Spanish music emanating from the center, you can be sure to find Luzita inside coaching her students in traditional Spanish dance that is known to many of us through performances during fiestas and community celebrations. Luzita has many talents that she readily shares. She is celebrated tonight as a teacher, an artist, a community activist, a dancer, a volunteer, a tutor, and the list goes on. I just have to add to this. I had the pleasure of sitting with Luzita at the dinner table tonight, and one of my colleagues, Sandy, said, "Is there anything that you don't do, Luzita?" So I could probably just write that in here. Luzita taught for 29 years with Taos Municipal Schools and has shared her teaching talents at UNM Taos and Taos Pueblo Day School. She was a contributor to the Taos News, featuring upbeat stories for the Spanish section of the paper. And this is a quote. "Only fun stuff," she noted. "Feast days, marriages, any positive events, and no politics." Exclamation point, all caps. Luzita is known for her intricate textile work in quilting and fiesta skirts that are some of the favorite offerings at the Taos Community Artists Co-op, of which Luzita is an active member. Now her fabric art includes making cloth masks with fellow members of the Tulpa Quilters Guild. The masks have been donated to both Picaris Pueblo and El Pueblito's Shared Table program. I'd like to say congratulations to my good friend and quilting colleague, Luzita Trujillo.
I am Luzita Trujillo from Talpa, and like I said, a retired teacher, and I loved it, every bit of it. I love being a teacher. I love being with the kids and with other teachers, you know, with parents. It was I still call it a great career, you know, because I'm still working with kids. So to me, it's ongoing, you know, it doesn't stop. So, and now, before all this happened, I did have a sewing class and a ceramic class on Saturdays. I love to sew. Anything, quilts, aprons, pot holders, clothing, masks, anything. So, in fact, my dining room is no dining room anymore. It's my sewing room. So, I have made tote bags. I made jackets. I have my Lady of Guadalupe in my back. And this is one of the designs that I have. With these two other women, we made 90 and we gave them to the share table because they come to Talpa to get their food. And I don't talk about this very often, but it helps me to talk about it. I did lose an older son 24 years ago, and that was the worst challenge I've ever had. But like I said, I had my family, I had my priest, I had, you know, people that were there for me. A lot of times, you know, people would visit, and not necessarily that we'd talk about anything, but they were just there for me. When it happened, the accident happened in Albuquerque, and I felt like mad. I was like, you know, mad at God for doing this. So I did tell Father that I didn't know when I would go back to church. I didn't go back for a whole year. And he said, I will be praying for you, and you will know when you come back. And so that's what it was, you know. I just needed that time to myself. And that's when I started painting. I painted the retablos, because that would keep me going. That would keep me calm, or, you know. And so I did. And then one day I took him out to school, and I asked the teachers, I said, I want your honest opinion. Tell me if you think I can make it as an artist when I retire. They bought them all. I pray in the morning, I pray in the evening, I pray for everybody. I actually ask God for help. I mean, we can't do anything without him, you know, so we have to we have to ask. And of course, if we don't ask, we're not going to get anything. I'm always asking, And I also ask people. In fact, a long time ago, I was still teaching, and every time I saw something that I could use in my classroom, I would ask for it. People would give it to me. And one day my brother said, I'm not going to town with you anymore. And I said, why? Because you're always asking people for things. And I said, yeah, but if I don't ask, I don't get it, Well, when I was a senior in high school, I did ask my father, am I going to go to college because tomorrow is college day? And he said, that's not the question. The question is, what college are you going to? So I knew I was going. And then he was also our teacher, and I loved to watch him. He would spread all his papers on Sunday on the table. Little did I know that he was grading papers, but it looked fun. It looked like fun, I did go to college. I got my master's right away, and I'm still reading. You don't finish learning. Like a lot of kids say, oh, I can hardly wait till I get out of high school, And I said, you go to college and you still read and you learn, And life is a learning process. You just keep on learning, A couple of years ago, I had been in the Historical Society, and they were working on a book, a Taos history. And they asked me to research song and dance, which I did. And in there, I found a lot of the dances that we're doing. I found pictures of them doing it in the plaza. And the songs that we did, it's something that was brought by the colonizers, the settlers, and we're still doing it. And there's not many dance groups doing that. There's more folklorico, which is Mexico, but I want to stick with this one, I just want to be sure that what we have, and what we had before, we still have, and that we can impart it to the future generations, that it keeps on going, that it doesn't just stop there.
Buenas tardes. I am so happy to be here with all of you, and thank you very much for this great opportunity to being one of the 2020 Unsung Heroes. First of all and foremost, I thank God for the many blessings that He gives me each and every day: life, health, and safety. Family and friends for their love and their support. I also thank Ernestina Cordova for her nomination, the committee for accepting her nomination. I also thank Dina, Morgan, Enrico, Virginia, Chris, for their ongoing work. I thank Chef Chris for the delicious meal that we just had. And I also thank the Taos News, the Taos Community Foundation, for sponsoring this annual prestigious award. I'd like to give them all a great big hand for working together for a common goal. So if you will help me, giving them a great hand. Like I said, for working together for a common goal and for a job well done. I also thank all of you for being here and sharing this great event, this great night with all of us. Again, thank you very much for this honor, and I will truly, truly appreciate it and treasure it. Thank you so much.
Good evening, Taos, and everyone else who has joined us for this very wonderful event, the 20th annual Tradiciones, where we honor wonderful, amazing, unsung heroes and a Citizen of the Year. And it is my honor tonight to introduce to you the Citizen of the Year for 2020. Anybody in Taos will know who this person is, pretty much within the first, 30 seconds when I start talking about this person. And everybody here gathered will know who this person is because it's the last person at the last table who hasn't won an award yet. I spent literally hours and hours writing the most wonderful things about this human being. And then I thought, that's silly. You can describe him in 3 words. He loves coffee. I mean, I assume he does because almost every morning you can find him at a coffee shop in Taos. He says he's working. He's writing a spiritual column for the Taos News, but I'm not sure. I think he just loves coffee. Actually, the 3 words that I think best describe him is that he holds space. He holds space in many wies. I'm talking about, of course, and I've been wanting forever to say this, I hope to say it properly, the Dr. Reverend Ted Wiard. The Ted that I met 24 years ago, I think is not the Ted that a lot of people in Taos knew when he was growing up here as a boy. I think that Ted was probably kind of wild. He might still be kind of wild. But I met Ted when he was maybe in chapter 2 of a life where he had to walk through fire to become the Ted that we know and love. In that journey, anyone who has lost someone, who has had a significant tragedy, will know the kind of fire that he walked through. But he came out of that fire like steel, and also like a river. Someone who can allow others to be in their grief and help them walk through their own fire. He holds space. He holds space for people who have lost children. He holds space for people who are homeless. He holds space for people who have lost others to tragedy of all sorts. And he does so with a great deal of humor and grace. He holds space in a way that allows people to feel comforted, but not in a way that makes them feel he is taking ownership of their grief. He simply holds space for them. It is my deep honor to introduce Dr. Reverend Ted Wiard, our 2020 Citizen of the Year.
So my name is Reverend Dr. Ted Wiard. Today we're at Golden Willow Retreat, which Marcela, my wife, and I founded 19 years ago. And so we happen to be in the Capilla de las Angelitas, the Chapel of the Little Angels. And the mission of this chapel is that it's always open and kind of warm. Because what I found in my journeys is so many places are locked up and you can't get into them even if they are warm. And we wanted a place where people could come and feel that emotional holding, no matter what faith or spirituality or lack of they had. Just a place where they could come and be held. Growing up in Taos, I got to learn so much from the cultura, the norteño, the way of living of, you went to a funeral and you gathered and then you went and you had enchiladas, or you even had a lot of enchiladas before the funeral, but you came together as a community and you honored one another and you told stories and you honored whoever's religion it happened to be at that time, but really you came together to have that holding. Growing up that way, I realized as I went out into the world many different times and always ended up back, is really I wanted to be in Taos. It is my home. It is the place I want to be. And within that, I wanted that chance to be able to bring that community back together. Not a color, not a gender, not a socioeconomic, but just the human of how do we gather in different ways. In a rural and frontier area, we have huge challenges. Finances, government, just being far apart from one another. I still remember when the gas went out many years ago, and all the radio stations, make sure you go 3 neighbors down, not just one, to make sure that the whole area had a webbing, a safety blanket under that. And so that's how I started Golden Willow Counseling, was as different organizations went away, I realized we needed more support. And in the counseling world, in the therapeutic world, or the behavioral health world, we talk about wraparound services where all the different organizations and all the different families come together in order to have that safety net that when someone falls, we can hold and help them back onto their feet once again. Family. Family is a big one. This award, I really miss my mom, who died last year, who is such a big part of who I am today. And she was an unsung hero, so was my stepfather. And so our family has been such a big part of believing in service. And so growing up here, having that type of grounding to allow me to expand and grow, and being pushed in all those areas once again, in the emotional area, and many trials and tribulations in that, but also pushing academically and emotionally, spiritually, and physically. Growing up here, playing tennis, being a ski racer, these different things. So how could I be pushed? And my family really helped me be pushed, but not to that place of breaking, of honoring we do our best. And so as that has grown into who I am today, most of my energy goes into being of service. And how can I, at my best ability, be of service for this community that has continuously been of service to me? When I have the opportunity to meet with somebody, either as a therapist or as a minister or as just someone on the street or doing ceremony of a wedding or a funeral or a baptism or whatever other ritual or ceremony happens to come up, my hope is that I have the opportunity to give some seeds that they then nurture and grow. My hope is that they can leave with some sort of hope, and whatever their trials and tribulations have been or they're in the midst of, they can start to have scars of wisdom from the past that they're bringing to the present to manifest a better future. So truly, quite often I feel like I'm kind of Johnny Appleseed, and I get to drop a lot of seeds, and I don't even get to sit under that tree and eat the apple. But instead, hopefully some of those seeds are leading for people to choose to do the work to be their true full. Destroyed. Luckily, with the grace of God, the community, this community, and many other communities, I was able to receive help to rebuild myself and stand here today. These events shaped me and helped me realize that I don't have to make sense out of losses, but from losses, I can make more sense out of my life and how to be of service. This is the flashlight I try to share and pass on to others that gives me meaning for me to do another day. As a person, community, country, and world, my hope is that we can fall, get up, be accountable, glean wisdom, make more sense out of the present, and build an awesome future. I honor my losses deeply and ask for their wisdom and essence to radiate into my everyday way of being, and hope this can help others in my celebratory journey. Sung and unsung, we are all heroes, and if each of us shows up in our own special way, from accepting support, giving support, being the support in the light, or the foundation for that light to shine, we need each other. And I ask that we all try to be kind, loving, caring, and forgiving. Thank you so much for this award and for all the many different people of Taos. A lot of people are holding their breath right now because they've never seen me serious this long. but I'm almost done. That's good. I want to thank all the people of Taos, Taos Pueblo, Cuesta, Peñasco, and all the small towns, especially like Arroyo Hondo, and all the people that make us, Taos, so, so special. I am grateful to call Taos home, and I'm grateful for all of you. Thank you, love you, and I am humbled. Thank you so much.
Okay, well, I want to thank you to Razor Sharp Productions to put this together tonight. Thank you, guys. They did a wonderful job. Ruben. We want to thank the Taos Community Foundation, Lisa O'Brien. Do we give it up for Ted one more time? Where's Ted at? Thank you, Ted. Chris and Valerie Mahar. And Taos Cooking. They went to bed, I think, but thank you. Our photographer, Morgan, she's been all over the place. I don't know if you guys seen it or not. She's incredible tonight. And thank you to all the staff of the Taos News. We couldn't have done it with everybody's help. So thank you tonight. Drive careful. Good night.